Good morning, peeps. See this truck right here? Well, a morning crew came this morning at 7 a.m. and that's when Molly normally takes a nap. Molly's the Malinois, the dog, the puppy that we have. She hasn't been able to sleep all morning. See how beautiful they paved it? It's really nice, but they started super early. They're just finishing up now, and the dog is she's gonna be a wreck all day. A topic that's always fascinated me throughout the majority of my life is just how crucial sleep is. I don't know if you've ever had this experience. Actually, I'm sure you probably have, but you ever had one of those nights where you just toss and turn and you can't fall asleep? Well, it was one of those nights last night for me, and now this morning it's gonna be one of those days for Molly. And the thing is, I find it so strange that no matter what age you are, when your sleep is off, man, you're bound for a really rough day, you know what I'm saying? And the one thing about the trades is that we still have to go to work, problem solve, and push our bodies at the same time. A lot of people are privileged with being able to sit down and do their work. Not us in the trades. If we're having a bad day, if we're up with the baby, if we're up with the puppy, it doesn't matter. You gotta go, you gotta dig, you gotta go, you gotta rough in, you gotta go, you gotta finish, you gotta do all those things, which I think honestly is a way of saying that that's how we build our characters, which is something that I'm really proud of, you know what I'm saying? It's not easy work, but it's a lot of fun. And even when I'm tired, I'm having fun, which is the best part. So it's not for the faint-hearted. It's not the first time I've ever said that, but it is something to keep in mind. So peeps, today we have a full day of just service. I don't even know what I'm about to run into. I know that I'm going out to one gentleman's house and I'm going to do just a couple of different small calls that he needs. And then I might pop out to another place where they're having a leak. So I don't know. It's kind of up in the air. Kind of excited about it. Maybe we'll have a short day. Hopefully we don't have a terrible day, but we're gonna find out. So peeps, let's get to work. Let's have some fun. Oh, and by the way, peeps, you know what to do, baby. Let's go do some delicious plumbing. just stopping in for a quick lunch. So these are the sorts of jobs that as a service person you kind of dread, only because everything becomes more complicated as you're going along. So you saw that faucet in there. It's like 30, 40 years old. Everything's seized. The only way to take it out was either to bring the Sawzall. Thankfully I didn't have to bring it. It wouldn't fit inside this tiny bloody cabinet that I have to get inside. The only way to get it out, aside from the Sawzall, was breaking it the way I broke it, as you saw underneath there. Thankfully it just popped out after that, but it took me a while to figure out that that was the weakest link. And then, as you saw, the trap itself started leaking, and I think they already knew about it but never brought it up. So now I have to call the customer and say, look, you got a trap that's leaking here. You can run into a hairy situation because sometimes customers will go, well, it wasn't leaking before you got there, and then you're all of a sudden stuck in a situation with like, look at the state of your trap. If anybody sneezes on it, it's going to start leaking, sort of thing. So thankfully the customer was really cool about it, knew about it I think, and I got the go ahead to essentially swap it out, which is nice. But the hardest part about this is that as you continue on, this job becomes longer and longer and longer because all the fixtures look like this. All of them are in this sort of state where they're barely functioning. They're all at the end of their life cycle. So thankfully customers chill, grab a quick lunch. Can't guarantee a time because as complications begin, you start going later and later into your day. But I said, look, I'm gonna stay till it's all done, and that's that. They're not in any rush, so let's go ahead, get this food in us, and get back to some delicious plumbing. So peeps, what you're watching me do here is inspect my soldering once I've finished. As you've probably experienced yourself, there's a lot of insecurity and anxiety around whether or not your soldering was sound. And I remember early on in my career how great of a risk it felt like every time I went to go turn on the water. So at some point I adopted this quality control method of taking a small little mirror and inspecting the joint that I just soldered in order to ensure that I didn't have a leak, or if I did, that I'd be able to rectify it before turning on the water. So this encompasses me grabbing a fitting brush, grit cloth, and just a regular cloth and cleaning off the joint that I just soldered. And you have to make sure to do a good job, because what you'll notice is if there's even a little bit of dirt on your soldering, it provides the illusion that the solder didn't wrap all the way around the entire fitting. So it looks like you actually are going to have a leak. So take a fitting brush and clean that down to verify if it actually did take. And if for whatever reason it looks faulty, take a brush, clean it, paste it, fire up your torch, and solder that bad boy again. Because remember, it's much easier and less stressful to resolder a joint when there is no water in the system, rather than having to turn the system off again and drain the water and deal with those complications and try to solder the joint once more after that. But especially if you can't verify with your eye, buy yourself a small little mirror. I'm telling you, it's going to make the world of a difference for your soldering and for your confidence. And you know, the second thing that I wanted to talk about is you're going to notice that whenever I put a bow adapter on a copper pipe, I make sure to sand down that pipe and even file down that pipe way before the bow adapter even gets there. And like almost everything in plumbing, peeps, I learned this the hard way. If the copper pipe is not crisp without any deviations in the diameter, that conical gasket that you're going to tighten is not going to seal. I'm telling you, I've gotten plenty of dirty looks from my dad because of this mistake right here. And what's going to happen is if it doesn't seal, you're going to have a tiny little irritating leak that's just gonna frustrate you, and you won't be able to fix it unless you remove the entire drain and do exactly that I just described. Clean that bad boy down, file it if you need. You might even have to fire up your torch from time to time, because what you'll notice is a lot of times there's leftover solder there, and you'll be there filing it down for 5 minutes, where you can just light it up with your torch, melt it, and then wipe it off with a cloth as well. But whatever it takes, clean that pipe, tighten that bow adapter well, and I promise you this is also going to make a world of a difference when it comes to not getting leaks. And lastly, peeps, don't get discouraged. Remember, I used to suck at plumbing. There are things that I still suck at with plumbing, but we're all trying to get better together as a community. So learn from my mistakes, keep your chin up. Thank you for the support, and enjoy the rest of the vlog. Love you, peeps.
Without my love
So what you have to realize is, kind of like I was saying before, every single fixture inside this unit right here, inside this house right here, essentially hasn't been touched for, man, 40, 50 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just one of those houses where the family did a pretty decent job maintaining the fixtures, but at the same time, look, they get old. And if they didn't wait this long for the repairs to take place, then it would have been easier to repair them because they're not at such a bad state. Every single thread that was metal was rusted. Every single fittings just was not really working. Everything looks the same age basically. So man, what I really want to say at the end of this video is this. This happens even to pros. I've been doing this for 7 years. You have days that are gong shows just because of a bunch of variables that you have no control over. You know what I'm saying? That's what you have to realize. It's not your fault that all those fixtures look like that. It's not your fault that they haven't been maintained over the past 40, 50 years. It's just the way it is. So when people ask me when I arrive to jobs like this, how long is it going to take, dude, I can't give you an answer to that because legitimately, it might take 15 minutes, it might take a half an hour or 45 minutes just to replace one bloody faucet, which is what happened today. Don't get discouraged. A lot of this has nothing to do with you and has everything to do with the neglect towards the fixtures. That's all I can say about that. One of your greatest strengths is knowing what is your fault and what's not your fault. So peeps, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment below, and I'll see you plumbers very soon. Kenny Molotov, guys. Peace, baby.